Stand in front of the alcohol. Sorry? No, this particular way. You know what it means? Yes. So aqua means welcome. This is the Ghanaians. I believe you know it is from two Akan words. The Ghanaians. You know the words? Aqua. Aquaba. 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 In Akan, aqua means to leave. Aquaba. Yes. So in Akan, aqua is to leave. Abba, to return. Aquaba, you left and return. It speaks to a deeper sense of belongingness, not just welcome. To some, visiting Cape Coast Castle is an excursion, family vacation, stress relief, become a diverse reason. To others, experiencing this edifice is a spiritual pilgrimage and reconnecting them to their roots and their ancestry. Regardless of your reasons, once we walk you through the door of no return, right back to the door of return, we give you an aquaba back to the castle. We respond by saying medasi, aquaba. Medasi. Medasi means thank you. Unveiled July 11, 2009, President Barack Obama is from. He's the only visiting president that keeps Cape Coast. Every president does his business in Accra and Lagos. The Obamas will visit Cape Coast because Michelle's wife believes she traces the ancestral roots from this very place. The experience will begin from the door of return upwards. You will unveil this before starting officially the experience. 1992, the chiefs brought the message as an apology for the ever wholesome African chiefs plague and slave trafficking. We are making part of a celebration. Some gave the land, the fort and castle sits home to these Europeans. Some sold their equipment and capitals of wars there. To say sorry, they are missing this. In the everlasting memory of the anguish of our ancestors, may those who died rest in peace. May those who return find their roots. And may humanity never again perpetuate such injustice against humanity. And that we, the living, vow to uphold. What I will add to this message before we end today's talk, that irrespective of our color, tribe, gender, race, religion, spirituality, irrespective of the difference. If you find yourself in any space, there are any forms of injustice and happenings, do not shy away from speaking out. Speak out. First, the European was against warfare. They were strangers from our land. How on earth would they have successfully navigated our lands without the rule of some Africans? Ashanti region, Burkina Faso, and beyond is a landlocked space. There is no sea there. If the European came from the sea, got more men as far back as Burkina, which is landlocked. Some of the biggest slave markets in Ghana are situated outwards. How would this be possible without the rule of the African? It is to remind us that the raidings and kidnappings were not done just by Europeans, some Africans played a role. I always say experiencing Cape Coast Castle is never meant at preaching hatred, enmity or divisions between any groups. It isn't to point accusing fingers at who did what or what who did, but to send a very important message to humanity, and it is never again. Never again is not limited to slavery, it is to all forms of injustice and mishappenings in and around our space today. Martin Luther once said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Remember what affected people indirectly finds a way to affect us all. Today is my turn. Tomorrow it can be yours. Help me fight and extinguish mine will even extend to you in the first place. Experiencing this castle today, seeing the dungeons, you realize they are all empty without doors. But ask yourself if truly slavery is over. Injustice in our communities, racism, child trafficking, child prostitution, tribalism, among others. I am not the best person to give the most accurate account of the happenings here in the castle. If the walls had mouths and they could speak, the best, most accurate is probably worse. They will scream to you and not me. Our parting message to you today is never again. Moving out of these walls, irrespective of our difference. If you find yourself in any space where any forms of injustice is happening, do not keep quiet, speak out. Perhaps your words could be the final straw that can cause, trigger, and effect the change you are hoping for. Now, all little ways that is all help contribute to making the world a better place. Once again, my name is Nanako Apia. It's been a pleasure being around for this experience. Thank you very much for seeing Cape Coast Castle. That's it. So those are the news things that there are some literatures. I'll show you around the receptionist. Then we are seeing the new thing.
Someone else bring the house.
Okay, yeah, so we go, yeah, okay.
This is a country castle that has so invariably they were taken from here. So, my reason being, I see Barack Obama is from Kenya. Ghana is the first African country to visit when it became president. This was to mark the visit. It was given a short visit. This is something like this. And this is the message I read to you. Ghana first celebrated Pan-African Historical Theatre Festival, PANAFest, in 1992. PANAFest is a celebration that promotes Africa together as one. We're not making PANAFest the chief process. I already recited that down there. To say short, admitting that their predecessors gave the land to each and some unfortunately sold their prisoners in captivity. So this was, I always say it is not enough, but at least this is something when Ghana first celebrated PANAFest, the chiefs brought to say so. The fourth to the dungeon is sleep. So after the fourth step, please take your time. I don't want to more. Let's see the dungeon. Standing in the head of the fighting position. You can also like for us to have experience. So we're going to look there with this. I'll do that after about that. This is the text. There's a text of the 5 keys. And on top of this key was a church. Society before the propagation of the gospel. A church of England, today's Anglican Church. The Anglican Church of Ghana started by the Muslims. The Catholic Church of Ghana started at Obu. Presbyterian Church of Ghana started at Christian. Methodist right at the Portiac Christianity started by and 50 years we had an African that was preaching up here to an all European congregation as Africans like types of rights. Let's see the fiction. Let's attend to the fourth. We started from the 10th. This was the entrance to the tunnel we saw. Sealed in 1834, supervised by Captain Lord McLean to mark the end of slave trafficking here. In 1807, Britain passed a law to abolish slave trafficking. Those in here were still trafficking. So to mark the end of that year, they had to seal the tunnel, years after the abolishment of slave trafficking. A rita brought in by tourists to pay respect to those that would die here. Their bodies were thrown into the sea. We believe their souls remain here. That is why we leave them here. During shipments, those that were considered too weak, sick, and unfit to survive the voyage were kept here. Those that were found dead were thrown into the sea. But those that survived would wait for the next shipment. Survival here dependent on the immune system. Once this was a tunnel means this isn't part of the initial setup of the castle. Today we stand before the altar of the leader of the 77 deities in Cape Coast. The Francis of Cape Coast believe in 77 gods. And there's a leader of the deities here. The name of the god is Nana Tabre. Nana Tabre. The castle was built on a rock. I believe you saw that in the model of the museum in the castle. Like you saw the model of the castle in the museum. You realize that the entire edifice was built on a rock. And that was the medium through which the Francis here connected to God before the Europeans came. I believe you know prior to the coming of the Europeans, Africans knew and worshipped God. Before the introduction of Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, among other religions, we had our own religious setup. We connected to God, we used nature. Africans connected through trees, stones, rivers, mountains, among other mediums to communicate to God. And the stone the castle was built on, this is where the natives felt the energy the most to pray. When the chiefs gave this land to them, those that worshipped that castle performed rituals. They had to believe they were replicating the deity from here. They took back the stones into the township. Then they continued the worship. If you move outside the castle, opposite the castle, you'll see a library dedicated to former President Mills. Right behind the library there is a commercial bank. That is where they set up another shrine. They erected an altar there, where the shrine, the bank is to be, to continue the worship. When slave trafficking in here ended, the castle was given back to the hands. Those that worship through this means saw it wise, returning their God to its initial spot. To date, this is an active, one of the most important shrines in the Cape. Unfortunately, we miss the priest. He's here Monday to Sunday to lead those that still believe and practice this religion through their prayers. There's tools there, those that come to pray as well as to consult the priest they use them. Sometimes you come here and the altar is full of gifts, drinks, money, fabrics, edibles, and all that stuff. Coming here to pray, we believe that their prayers and petitions will be answered or is answered to love those things as well. In Cape Coast, we celebrate a rich cultural, colorful, traditional festival. It's called Festival Fashion every first Saturday of September. Before we commence, the natives come to slaughter a ram. They offer a sheep as a sacrifice in here to the god before we begin the festival. Where we stand is an active, one of the most important shrines here. Ordinarily, we do not enter shrine before. But today, this end is a tourist site. It's allowed. But at any time we that no one believes in this, anytime the priest is here to invoke the gods and the ancestors of the land, we stand barefooted to receive the prayer. This is a fifth chamber. Let's move to the first. I think they just left out.
On top of it, that considering I'm going to see your one comment that you can say, I saw that I was I saw that I was waiting to show. It's not when the one preaching Bible was wrong. Then another was saying, I had bread. I'm going to the Bible now, and then, yeah, you did it. I want to the Bible. I found out the head
So there's our films here. The first, this was reserved for the very aggressive ones. Two stubborn log up in here, and see that stubborn that says the other ones to finish. You realize that what we stand on defense for what we see there. You stand on bricks, In 1974, this room was excavated. A group of archaeologists from the University of Ghana came here to work. It is only them who got to know the full story of bricks. Coming here earlier, this is what you have seen, and exactly what you have been working on. Test conducted, what we have been working on is 25